Hello my friends, today is a new day and an exciting day it is indeed. As you see, we have a whole setup today. I don't usually have a mic, but I wanted to make it more pleasing for you all to watch this video. I also wanted to do this new thing called tea talks. Let's maybe not coin that yet, but I have my Tim Hortons tea here and I wanted to talk to you guys about a specific subject that I personally deal with. I'm sure a lot of you out there deal with as well. If you guys are here, you probably have really high aspirations for yourself and you probably expect a lot of yourself and have really big goals. And I just want to say you are definitely going to reach these goals. You're definitely going to get to that point that you want to be at, but you just might not get there with this particular mentality. I'm just gonna open this one up right now. Yo, the first sip is always the best. Yo, this mic could actually be good for ASMR too. Let me do a little slurp for you guys. Let me try one more thing. I feel like it's gonna sound kind of cool. It's not gross, I swear. Was that cool? So two big things I really want to talk about are perfectionism and imposter syndrome. And I think at some point or another, especially us creatives, we have definitely dealt with one or the other or both at the same time. And these can be really difficult things to deal with. Whether you're a perfectionist or you have imposter syndrome, both of them are going to eventually cripple you, and they both paralyze you, because if you really think about it, at the very core of what those two things are, they seem to be very different, because one of them seems like you're doing your best to look perfect and the other one you feel like you're not credible or you feel like you don't deserve to be where you are. Both of them stem from the root of not feeling like you're good enough. As a perfectionist, you're not really gonna put yourself out there unless what you put out there is perfect. And the reason you're doing that is because you're afraid to look like you're failing in front of other people. And when it comes to imposter syndrome, we just don't feel like we deserve to be there. So we already by default don't feel like we're good enough. It's really interesting to me because a lot of the people that struggle with these two things tend to be people that are very talented, but they impose these limits and restrictions on themselves that convince them that they need to operate a certain way because they're worried so much about what society is going to think of them, or they're so worried about what an industry is going to think of them. And so this whole tendency to compare ourselves based on social media and based on the culture that we have today ultimately breeds and feeds into this perfectionist mentality and this imposter syndrome mentality. Whether it be through dance or in the video space, I've definitely dealt with my fair share of needing to feel like I want to be perfect, or having imposter syndrome and not feeling like I'm good enough. And a lot of times when it comes to dealing with this stuff, it leads me to not put out my work, or it leads me to not pursue opportunities that I should be going for if I want to grow. And the reason I don't do that is because I feel like I'm either not qualified, or because if I do it, I'm not going to come off as perfect, and so people will have a shattered image of who I am. And that ultimately comes back down to who I am and who I want people to believe me to be. But I think as humans, it's important to realize that like none of us are perfect, and I think at the end of the day, nobody is really watching us. I think everybody's consumed with themselves, and everybody's consumed with how they want to come off to other people. They're worried about building themselves, and they're worried about being okay on their own. Yeah, there are going to be some people that compare you, there are going to be some people that judge you, but that's ultimately what life is. And I mean, we need to be able to stick to our own guns and be confident and see our own value in ourselves if we want to continue to grow, because having a perfectionist mindset can only get you so far before you feel the plateau of not going outside of your comfort zone. And having imposter syndrome is only going to get you so far before you really won't be good enough, because you're not pursuing those opportunities that you are definitely credible enough to take. So throughout this journey of alternating between wanting to be perfect and feeling like an imposter, there have been a few ways that I've tried to bypass these feelings to make sure that I'm not crippling myself and preventing myself from pursuing opportunities that I should be taking. And if I'm missing anything, if there's anything that you guys do, please let me know in the comments below, because I would definitely love to hear them as well. But one of the things that I do, I've talked about throughout this video, is to realize your value, to let yourself see how much you've grown from where you started, and to see how your hard work has really come into play to build the person that you currently are. Obviously, this is to a certain extent. It's good to be confident, but definitely don't be overconfident. But yeah, you have to realize your own value, because I feel like a lot of people don't do that. A lot of people don't realize their value, and they let themselves get undercut and they ultimately don't get the opportunities that they want because they just don't see that true value in themselves. And it's crazy because your friends will see this value in you too, which goes on to the second thing that I want to suggest is surround yourself with positive people. Surround yourself with people who believe you, the true friends who can always keep you in touch. Because there have been a lot of times where I felt discouraged, and I've always gone to friends to talk about this because they always set me right. If my mentality is kind of skewed, they always do an amazing job at keeping me on track and reminding me where I come from, reminding me of how far I've grown. And so having a solid support system is going to be super key when it comes to combating like perfectionist mentality and feeling like you're an imposter in what you do. Another thing that I found really helpful is, this is particularly for me when it comes to video, but I'm pretty sure this is transferable to other skills as well. I had a friend once ask me,
yo bro, like what do you do to fight off being a perfectionist?
This had to do with video content, and he had a problem with posting video content or creating video content, and him wanting to always seem perfect it crippled him. It made him not want to do anything because he didn't really know which direction to go in. So I told him, in order for us to grow and still feed that perfectionist mindset, maybe try to categorize a certain skill. So when it comes to video, for example, I tried to categorize a skill that I wanted to work on with each piece. And so I was able to let that perfectionist out in small chunks and keep it tame, so that, for example, if I was working on color, I tried to do a video where the rest of the video was decent. It wasn't to my standard perfect, but I tried to perfect the color. And so that still let me satisfy one side of being a perfectionist without crippling myself completely, because I was able to work on one thing. This is something that for me has really helped me to continue to progress and take on the opportunities, because I kind of compartmentalize where I want to be perfect before finding specific opportunities to try to like really apply myself everywhere else. And the last thing I want to suggest that I think would be beneficial for everyone is to just try not to think too much about what other people think about you. I think it's much easier said than done. Again, we live in this social age where everything seems public and it seems like everybody is watching you, but you just have to let yourself go. You have to let go of the idea that other people are going to judge you, and you just have to let yourself free. And it does help. As soon as you try to forget about what everybody else is thinking, you let yourself truly be who you are meant to be, just unhinged and uninfluenced from the people that don't need to be influencing you, because at the end of the day, we are individual people and we're supposed to grow as that. So just to quickly summarize the few ways that I try to combat the perfectionist mentality and the imposter syndrome mentality are to surround yourself with the right people. Having a good social circle will always keep you on track. Believe in yourself. Make sure that you let yourself see your own value and get comfortable with that value without getting overconfident. Try to forget about the opinions of other people, because the opinions of other people ultimately don't matter to the growth that you yourself are going to undergo. Try to compartmentalize that perfectionist mentality, because if you're able to compartmentalize it in whatever task you're trying to perform, you're going to let yourself grow in one aspect without hindering yourself in the rest of the aspects. And one that I forgot to mention is let yourself fail. Get comfortable with failing, because once you do that a few times, you realize that it really doesn't matter what people think, because out of the failure, you learn so much more, and people can see you as a failure, but in your head, you know that you wouldn't be where you are without those moments. So that was the video. I hope you guys all enjoyed that. It was a little bit different again, and I know I rambled quite a bit. I'll be totally honest, as far as trying to be a perfectionist goes, I actually had a really hard time filming this video, because I personally didn't want to come off like I didn't know enough, and I didn't feel like I knew enough at the same time. So I really had to push myself to put this together. But I hope that the message translated. I hope that it was able to provide some value to you guys. And again, if you have more tips for me, please feel free to share them in the comments below. If you guys want to see more content, please make sure to subscribe as well, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.